Welcome to this edition of Mayor's Report Livermore. I'm your host, Dr. Marshall Kamena. Joining me today is Mayor John Marchand from the city of Livermore. By golly, welcome.
Always a pleasure to be here, Marshall.
My pleasure indeed. What topics might you like to share with our audience today to start this program off?
Well, a couple ones. You know, the Mayor's Choice is always one of the first ones we get to do. But
yes.
I had a remarkable experience yesterday, and I'd like to share that with the audience because it's something that they can do as well. The Spectrum Meals on Wheels. I was part of a ride-along yesterday. And the Meals on Wheels program provides meals to seniors. It's several hundred seniors that they provide meals to. These are delivered to the homes for the seniors. Many of them have a very, very difficult time getting out. So this really is a lifeline for them. And it's something that is so basic as to provide food for someone in your community. It's a wonderful program, and they're looking for drivers. But we visited about a dozen seniors that were mostly shut-ins yesterday, and had an opportunity to talk with them, do well checks, make sure they're doing okay, and bring these are specifically prepared meals. So some are vegetarian, some yesterday the main feature was a seafood salad, which looked quite good. So they're individually prepared meals. They're hermetically sealed, so it's all hygienic and safe. But it was a great program, and I'd encourage any of your listeners here to go onto the website, Spectrum Community Services, and volunteer to be a driver for Meals on Wheels.
Is it confidential, or can you tell us who makes those meals?
They're made by Open Heart Kitchen at the Stanford Healthcare.
Oh, I'll bet they're really quite tasty.
They sure looked good. And Open Heart Kitchen has served literally millions of meals over the last few years. They've provided tremendous service for the community. So they and for all three cities in the Tri-Valley.
Yes, yeah. My experience, and I bet yours too, in Livermore has been quite positive.
It has. And now that they've got Vineyard 2.0, where they have a professional kitchen, in the first month they served, I think, over 35,000 meals in the first month at the new kitchen.
Who's responsible for that elevation to number 2?
Vineyard 2.0, you mean?
Vineyard 2, yes.
That's, it was a group effort. The city of Livermore put up significant funding for that, and we also got CDBG funds from Pleasanton and Dublin, the other Tri-Valley cities. So it's really been a collaborative effort, and it's a great success.
Lots of cooperation, it sounds like.
It is. It's a tremendous effort, and I'm very proud of the fact that it's in Livermore because the architecture is beautiful, and that's going to be looking after people that were formerly homeless. And that's right here providing for those that are the most vulnerable in our community. So I'm very proud of that.
Well, from what you said, I'm anxious to go on the same kind of tour that you did.
Yes. It is. It's very good. So another thing that we did, so this week was also Innovation Tri-Valley had their Energy Summit. As you remember, last year they had a summit on healthcare.
Yes.
This one was an energy summit, and the keynote speaker was Dr. Kim Badil from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Mm-hmm. The real game changer, we've talked about it before here on Mayor's Report, but the National Ignition Facility, that has achieved ignition now 5 times. The most recently, it was an increased power by a factor of 2. Actually a little over 2. They put 2 megajoules into the system and got 5.1 out. So this is a real game changer, and it's continuing to as they refine it, they're getting more and more energy out of this. So this really has the potential to be a game-changing power source. Dr. Badil was talking about, this is the most powerful laser in the world. And when it fires, it creates more energy than is being used across the entire United States. Produces 500 trillion watts of power. It's amazing. So we also had, there were demonstration booths that were there, a number of businesses were there. Innovation Tri-Valley put this out, and they're really focused on creating not only an education and jobs pipeline, but also to brand the area as we really are an innovation hub, and we continue to drive that innovation. Some of the companies that were there that were part of the panel, Gillig Bus, which is working on hydrogen-powered buses, Zero Avia, which is an aviation company. They're working on hydrogen-powered flight. Sandia National Laboratories, the gentleman that spoke on behalf of Sandia, is considered one of the world experts on hydrogen. And they were talking about how you could continue to build on this. The Five Rivers Aviation was there because they're looking to create a hydrogen fueling hub at the Livermore Airport, and also Apricus Energy, which is also very active in the hydrogen space. So a lot of innovators, a lot of businesses that are really looking to change the whole ecosystem, as it were. And there was also talk about carbon sequestration, because one of the big things, the drivers of climate change right now is carbon, and carbon in the environment. So how do you either have a carbon-free fuel source like hydrogen, or how do you remove that hydrogen? And I think we're going to be doing a combination of both. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory did a groundbreaking study on this, on how you could go to scale and remove hydrogen to really make a remove carbon, with hydrogen being as a key component of that, but removing carbon from the atmosphere, sequestering it underground, and making lifestyle changes to ensure that we can put the brakes on climate change and really make a better environment for everybody.
If we had this talk 10 years ago, we wouldn't even believe it.
You're right, because there were so many people that were denying well, I think part of the problem is they used to refer to it as simply as global warming.
Yes.
And what we're doing is, it's not just global warming, we're seeing the extremes. We're seeing hotter weather, and at the same time we're seeing colder weather. We're seeing more violent storms, more violent hurricanes. So it really is, we've increased the extremes. It's not just global warming, because when you had a cold winter, people would say, oh, see, global warming is a fake. But the fact is, we are experiencing climate change, and we're seeing it all over the world. For the first time, in recent memory, the poles, the ice at the North Pole disappeared. There was no ice there. So.
Yeah. Joke's on us.
Right. Well, so we're seeing things that are happening globally. The glaciers, which have existed for millennia, are going away. So we really need to start taking action now to ensure that we can continue to have a habitable Earth for generations to come.
Certainly Al Gore wasn't all wrong, was he?
No, he wasn't. Yeah, the inconvenient truth.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Wow. The Nonprofit Alliance. What can you tell us about it? It just completed its community program, and TV30 was there to interview those attending and to highlight the event. Did you know that?
I was one of them, and
well,
they actually interviewed me.
So you were on the panel discussion and examined the strategies and the connections between cities and local nonprofits, and maybe you can expand on that for us. It's really a great time, wasn't it?
Well, it really was, because one of the really cool things, and you were one of the ones that started this, is bringing all the mayors of the Tri-Valley together. I remember back in the day when people were patting you on the back, they were looking for a place to put the knife. And but today, we really collaborate very well together. And you were one of the driving forces of that, about how do we collaborate to speak with a louder voice. When we go back to Washington, D.C., we go back as 5 mayors. We don't go back as 5 cities. So this the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance Summit is really a mayor's summit. It's the second summit that we have in the Tri-Valley, where we bring the 5 mayors together to talk about issues that are important to all the cities. And one of those issues, of course, is services, public services to our community, especially human services. So that's these are all problems that all the mayors share. So as we come together and have these conversations, we can talk about, well, what are the best practices that we use? And how do we collaborate? For example, Vineyard 2.0 was a collaboration between all the Tri-Valley cities coming together. Well, actually, not all of them. Livermore, Pleasanton, and Dublin came together to make that happen. iGate also was started with all the Tri-Valley cities. So with the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance having all 5 mayors coming together, the nonprofits really are the backbone of how we deliver services, particularly the healthcare services for people that are disadvantaged or experiencing homelessness. So these how is sharing best practices. So they said they really are the backbone of our delivery service system. For example, we only get about $400,000 in community development block grants. And that's from the federal government. That's not a lot of money.
No.
When you're talking about serving 10,000 people that are receiving services in Livermore. So how do we stretch those out? And we can stretch those out by using the nonprofits. Alameda County has dedicated funding for housing and for homelessness. They have dedicated funding for mental health services and for health services. Cities don't have that capability, so we rely on working with the county and working with the nonprofits that are receiving grants from the county and from other agencies to continue to provide services like Access Healthcare, which is in Livermore.
Yes.
At our,
I remember when it started, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And they're in our multi-service center. They're soon going to be opening up a dental clinic on 2nd Street. They've had the Access Healthcare in Pleasanton. So these are all common problems that we have, and how do we find solutions? And we do that by working with our nonprofits.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on this edition of Mayor's Report from Livermore. Welcome back to this edition of Mayor's Report Livermore. We're here talking with Mayor John Marchand from the city of Livermore. Nice to see you again.
It's good to be back.
I've been thinking, and I bet you have too, about the Livermore Airport from time to time.
Yes, it's always on the front burner there.
When it came to town several years ago, it ultimately became the 5th largest municipal airport in California, and it was really designed to be a backup airport for SFO whenever it was fogged in. Mm-hmm. Did you know that?
I did not.
There you go. I heard this from my wife.
Yeah, okay.
And how's it going in general with regard to the airport?
Well, it's an extraordinarily valuable asset to the community. Now, you were talking about being a backup for San Francisco. And of course, we can't handle the planes that San Francisco does. We don't have our runway isn't made to
Yes.
deal with the size of those planes. But during the Super Bowl, we actually were the backup airport for the Super Bowl because San Jose actually did not have the capability to absorb those number of planes. So we actually had the smaller jets,
executive jets,
the executive jets. We had over 120 of those parked here at Livermore.
Did Kaiser operate any one of them?
Kaiser did not. Kaiser never even submitted a proposal, no. And so there was a huge blow up about that. But the remarkable thing is I spend way too much time on Nextdoor actually. But there was so much misinformation about that. Kaiser never submitted a proposal. There was never any discussion about that with the city council. There was a presentation that was made to the airport commission, but they never submitted a proposal, and so there was no there, to quote Gertrude Stein.
I see.
But somebody heard something from somebody, and it just, social media allows these things to multiply. So that's what happened with that. But there was never any discussion about bringing in the 737s and with Kaiser. But what we are doing right now, as you remember, back in July, we reworked the policy, the development policy at the airport. And that policy states that we will only work to satisfy the current demand at the airport. We're not going to be soliciting new demand. What we're looking for is, we have a hangar wait list. We've had a hangar wait list of, several hundred people at any given time. So how do we determine what the actual need is at the airport? What is the current demand? So we're going to find out what the actual demand is for the airport. And what's interesting is, for example, in Pleasanton, there are literally dozens of businesses in Pleasanton that moved here specifically because of the access to the airport, and a number of other businesses in Bishop Ranch, San Ramon, Dublin, Livermore, a lot of those businesses located here because of the proximity to the airport, recognizing what an asset that is. For example, during the more recent floods and wildfires, this was a critical delivery point for supplies and as a staging area for first responders and disaster response. So this is, it really is an asset. So we're taking a very public process right now to take input from the public to see what services are needed. There's been some pushback. There are people that are saying that, well, this is, why are you keeping this a private process or a secret process? No, it's all the information's on the website. You can go to the city website. It's I'm sorry. You go to the city website and you can pull up the information. We actually have highlighted information on the process. There are going to be a series of focus groups talking to all the individual stakeholders at the airport, talking to the community, and getting a very broad-based information set on what the needs are and how the city can best serve those needs. We have a fixed-based operator, which is 5 Rivers. The city does not sell fuel at the airport. 5 Rivers does, and we have been working with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District and the California Air Resources Board to get certified to start selling unleaded aviation fuel. Now, we already sell jet fuel, which has no lead in it. But currently about a third of the planes there and about a third of the fuel sold is leaded avgas, and these are for most of the older piston type planes. Before you can burn unleaded fuel in a piston type plane, it has to be certified for that. And certification can cost anywhere to up to $1,000 because you have to certify both the frame of the plane and the engine.
I see.
So we've been working, I made a suggestion to the Bay Area Air Quality Management District to incentivize pilots and to provide grants to pay for that certification. I haven't heard anything back from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, but what we're working with right now is working with the fixed-based operator to recertify a tank that we have on site to allow for the sale of unleaded avgas. There is currently no drop-in replacement available in California, so that's something that we're hoping will eventually come onto the market, is an unleaded avgas that can be used without this recertification process. As it stands now, there isn't one, but we're working with the fixed-based operator to recertify a 1,000-gallon tank to allow for the sale of unleaded fuel for the planes that can use it.
I see.
And then, but the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, for full transparency, they have a 60-day public comment period, which has to take place before we can begin the work on installing this tank. So we're working on it. We actually granted a 2-year window. We're probably going to be able to install it within months after the 60-day public comment period. So there's a lot of stuff going on at the airport, but we do want to hear from the public, and they can go onto the website and provide comments. There are also going to be these public listening sessions and workshops to get public information. And so stay tuned, and you can have your say.
It also should be said that it's not unusual for the airport to be the destination of many small planes coming in, so that their people, the people who are flying those planes, can go to the outlet centers and shop and get back on and take off.
That's true.
We don't have to educate them. We don't have to give them fire protection. All we have to do is supply them with the goods, and we'll keep the taxes.
There you go. There you go. A lot of the 65% of the people that frequent the outlet mall are foreign nationals.
Yes.
So we're happy to take their money, and that brings in millions of dollars. And thank you for spearheading that.
It was a real pleasure. You recently mentioned your admiration for Tri-Valley Haven and some similar projects in Livermore. Can you share a few of your views and comments?
Well, so Tri-Valley Haven is, they've been serving our community for years. Particularly people that are disadvantaged, domestic violence. I think the only confidential domestic violence shelter in the region, and they take teen boys. The only one that does. So they're working on rebuilding the home that they have. It's old. It has. There are some environmental issues with the building, so they're taking it down and going to be increasing the capacity 50%. They got a grant from the county, and they've been cobbling a number of sources together.
So they have a future.
They do. So we're working together. In fact, the gala is going to be next month. They have a groundbreaking gala that's coming up, and people can go online and buy tickets for that as well. To support the new construction that's going on there. Very exciting, but this is a critical need for families to escape domestic violence situations. And again, it's right here in Livermore, and providing that service throughout the region. But I'm very proud of the fact that they are here in Livermore. We've already talked about Vineyard 2.0, which is housing for 23 apartments for people that are formerly homeless, and it's we also have a 20-bed homeless shelter for overnight. And the great thing about it is with most shelters, people pack up their sleeping bags and then they have to leave.
Yeah.
Vineyard 2.0 is set up that they can stay. They can stay and have breakfast. They can stay for another meal. They don't have to leave. There's also mail service there. There's showers. The laundry services. So it really is a place where people can get back on their feet. There's a navigation center there so that people can prepare their resumes. And really, it's a hand up to help people out. So it's a very exciting opportunity to provide, again, services for our community.
And late breaking news is that some of the barking dogs in the areas aren't so bad anymore. Thank you, Mayor, for being here today. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Mayor's Report Livermore. Join us for the next edition of Mayor's Report right here on Tri-Valley TV. I'm Dr. Marshall Kamena. Thank you all for joining us.